Last year, I made a video about an electrified camp cooking setup, the setup that I've been using with my rig when I take it out. And since I put out that video, I got a lot of inquiries asking about what power system am I running? How do I have my Jeep set up to support electrified camping? So here we are. I'm going to answer the questions. I'm going to walk you through everything that is installed in my Jeep for power storage, power management, solar, power distribution to things like the Iceco fridge in the back of the truck. Building a power system for your overland camping off-road rig is a lot simpler than it used to be. So I'll show you everything that I've set up so you guys can learn from my journey, because I find this super interesting. There's a lot of cool tech and gadgets and things that you can add on to really just kind of change your whole camping experience. It's a really good time of year to be doing this. One, because it's beautifully sunny out, which we can talk a little bit about solar, but also we've got Amazon Prime days on, a good opportunity to maybe save a few bucks if you're looking at starting your own electrified camping setup or adding on to what you already have. So I've broken this video down into what I think are the four most logical categories. We've got power storage, so storing and saving energy for whatever your needs are. Power recovery, so recharging, how I'm recharging and bringing energy back into the system. Power output and distribution, so how much can we run? How big of a device, how many devices can we run? How do I have the power distributed throughout the Jeep to meet my needs? And then the last one is gonna be devices that I'm actually running off of my power system that are really sort of the reason for creating an electrified camping setup. All right, let's start with power storage. How are we storing energy in our Jeep to use later? How much storage do we need? And we kind of have to base the capacity of that off of how quickly can we recover or replenish our batteries so that we can use them again the next day or for whatever else it is we might, or for any devices we need. Okay, first off, let's just talk about the vehicle's battery. What do I use this for? Well, this is just the standard vehicle battery that comes with this. I mostly use this for charging, but it's also sort of the it's sort of the broker between the alternator giving off amperage and my charging system that we use to charge the batteries inside the vehicle, which we'll get to charging and recovery in a second. But basically this is topped off with the Cascadia 4x4 charge controller here. And we just did a video about installing the Cascadia 4x4 hood solar. I'll talk about recovery in a minute, how we're gonna charge the batteries with solar and shore power. But if you wanna watch the install of the hood solar on this and Chef John's 4Runner, that video is on the channel. Just go look a couple of videos ago. But basically, I don't get much out of the vehicle battery. I want this to always be available to start my vehicle. I don't want it depleted when I'm out. And so really, we just maintain it with some solar, and we draw off of it when it's running with our EcoFlow alternator charger, which I'll get to in a second. Now, the real heart of the system is actually in the back of the truck. And this is where I was alluding to that setting up a power system for your vehicle is way easier than it used to be. It used to be, you'd have to go get, dual batteries and wedge another battery under your hood or somewhere else in your truck, and you have to go get our red arc DC to DC charge. Now you don't have to do any of that anymore. You can just go out and get something like this EcoFlow Delta 2 Max. This is a 2000 watt hour of capacity battery. So this holds 2000 watt hours. Good way to reference that is if you look at your device that you're wanting to plug into this, say it's 1000 watts, that means it's going to draw 1000 watts per hour. That means 2000 watt hours, you could run it for 2 hours. So that's a general rule of thumb. There's some caveats there with efficiency of the inverters and whatnot, but that's a good rule of thumb. If you look at your device and it uses 200 watts on the bottom of it, you look at it, it says 200 watts, that means you could run this for 10 hours off of this. Now, this is the heart of my system, and this is not the only battery in here. This is 2000 watt hours, but also tucked under and behind my driver's seat, I have a 2000 watt hour expansion battery. And you see this guy here hiding here. It's basically just a lighter mini version and of the Delta 2 Max, and all it has in it is battery. There's no inputs or outputs. It just has a big fat cable that goes to the main battery, and that just hides here behind my driver's seat. So with the two of these, that gives me a total of 4000 watt hours, which is an absolute ton of capacity if I need to run some of my systems for a couple of days and I'm not running the truck to charge it up, which we'll get to in a second. But this is so much easier to put into your truck than mounting some like component-based system. This is all in one. All you need to do is plug this into one of the various options for charging this, and that's it. It's, you know, it's got built-in solar charge controller, built-in charge controllers. The batteries are built in. On the front, we've got all these USB ports, and around on the back, we've got all of our household power connections, as well as we've got right here, we've got the solar input port. We've got an AC port for charging off of shore power. We've got regular 110 connections here. This is what we're going to be running all our devices off of. And we've got a little 12 volt barrel connector at the bottom. So even though the EcoFlow has Delta 3s out, I still think the Delta 2 Max is the best system. It gives me the most flexibility for designing my system. They don't have a 2000 watt hour Delta 3 out, which is why I'm still using the 2. But the reasons for that are, first off, we get, oh, where's this going? First off, we get 2 solar ports here. We get 1 port here and 1 right above it. So these are XT60 connectors. If we want to plug permanently mounted solar panels in, which is what I'm working on right now, we can do it. And then we can actually have another expansion port if you want it to have some portable deployable solar panels for maybe a longer stay and you need some higher recovery. We'll talk about recovery here in a minute. It's also got 6 AC ports at the bottom. Like I said, it's got 110, but then we also have 2 expansion ports on the sides. Now, this will be a lot nicer when they are on the back. I'm sure in a future model they'll put them on the back, but we've got 2. We've got 1 expansion port, which is going to our expansion battery. We've got a second expansion port, which is going to our alternator charger, which I'll talk about in a minute when we get to recovery and charging these. And then we've got easy to access USB ports all on the front. And I've got all kinds of things plugged in here permanently. Like I've got a no-code jump starter here that's always being charged in case we need it. I've got an extra long USB cord that goes all the way up to the front of the Jeep so I can charge my cameras when I'm out and about. We've even got a port going off the main EcoFlow that charges the little River 3. So if I need some portable power at camp, I just unplug this from the back and I can carry this around. I don't have to lug a extension cord or USB cord anywhere. I can just carry this around and maybe you know, charge my phone, or maybe you have one of those fancy heated seats, or you want to bring this up in your tent, or a million things. It's got some portable power. So the Delta 2 Max is kind of the sweet spot right now. It's also LFP battery, so you can recharge this like 3,000 times and still it's rated for like 80% of its capacity. So you can charge it every day for 10 years and it's still going to have really good capacity on it. So you want to make sure you get a power station with a LFP, which I think is a lithium iron phosphate, or you'll see Life PO4 is a common battery composition. Either of those, that's what you want. You don't want to go with any old batteries that can only be charged, I think it was like 800 times in the past. Okay, so that's what I was saying, like why it's so simple and easy to set up a power system in your vehicle now, because you can grab something like the EcoFlow Delta 2 Max and it's gonna have everything you need into it. You basically just have to figure out how you're gonna get power into it and power out of it, but you don't need any other major devices. But I'm gonna show you a couple things that also, I think, really set the EcoFlow above a lot of other power stations. Now, as I was saying before, part of the timing with this video is there's actually Prime sales on right now on Amazon. And well, maybe it just depends on when you're watching this video, but from July 8th to July 11th, I believe are the dates for Prime sales this year. You can check out all the products in this video. They're all gonna have links down in the description. They are affiliate links. You don't get charged anything extra, but I make a small commission to help support me making videos for you guys. If you wanna check them out, just go down in the description below. Yeah, you can grab like the EcoFlow stuff is on sale and some of the other products we're going to talk about in this video as well. Okay, so that's the first category, capacity. How much battery power are you going to need to do what you got to do out at camp? And so you want to look at devices, how much load they have, how much runtime you might need to get out of them, and that'll kind of help you with your capacity. Now the second part of this is recovery. So you can balance recovery with capacity depending on how fast you can recharge your power system that you go with. Now, keep in mind, the bigger the battery, the more juice it's going to hold, which means the more you got to feed into it. So you got to be strategic that way. What you don't want is to be running out of power faster than you can recover it through solar or your vehicle charging it, or shore power if you can plug in, which if you can plug in, it's not going to really matter. That's basically for topping up quickly. But what you want to be able to be is sustainable off the grid and recover your batteries. So if you're not driving a lot, you have to take more of a solar route. If you're driving more, you can have less solar and you can have some of the vehicle charging systems that we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so charging and recovery. So capacity, as I just mentioned, comes into play here. You have to be able to make sure that you can fill your batteries back up before you need to use them again, or the amount that you need to use in them. So there's a couple ways that we're recovering power on my truck. Now, one of them is still work in progress, so we'll talk about that last. One of them we just added, and this is what I was talking about a minute ago. So first of all, I want to make sure my truck battery always stays topped up. Now, we've got the hood solar here from Cascadia 4x4. They're for all kinds of different vehicles, including Jeeps, and that's just feeding into a charge controller that is topping up my vehicle's battery all the time. So the thing is, this is where it starts to get more complex, but it's still very simple compared to like a multi-part system that you got to put together. So the Cascadia charge controller is pulling in solar from on the hood, and it's charging up my vehicle's battery. Now, we are drawing some power off of that battery as long as it stays above 12.5 volts. And this is where I think EcoFlow is continuing to set themselves apart, and that is with their charging system, the EcoFlow Alternator charger that they came out with, I want to say like a year and a half ago. And I've got this running underneath my goose gear here. Let's pop this open. I'll show you guys what's underneath here. So underneath we have, and I need to actually physically mount this. This is the EcoFlow Alternator charger. So this is actually wired all the way in to my vehicle's battery. And anytime it sees voltage above 12.5 volts, it's gonna kick on and start drawing off the vehicle's battery. So this is where the solar is kind of neat, because the solar is gonna charge that at 14 volts. And so it's gonna keep the battery above 12.5 volts. As long as I've got solar coming in, the EcoFlow Alternator charger can pull power in off the main battery through this, and that's where the extra port comes in on the Delta 2 Max. So it's putting power into the Delta 2 Max. Now, that isn't a ton of power because the solar panel on the hood only puts in about 25 watts or so. So if you go back to our capacity, 4,000 watt hours, if we had to pull in 25 watts per hour, right, that's 4, 10, 40 times 4, 160 hours to charge that at 25 watts. Like, that's just not realistic. That's just giving it some extra solar power input, but mostly to keep our vehicle's battery charged up. Where the alternator charger really shines is when the truck is running. So when we fire the truck up, the alternator charger can actually pull up to 800 watts off of the vehicle's alternator when it's running, as long as it's above 12.5 volts. When your alternator is running, it's going to be above 12.5 volts. It kicks on. That's why it has such a monster cable, because this is going to be charging my EcoFlow Delta 2 at 800 watts, right? So now to recover 4,000 watts, you just do the math. It's about 4.5 hours. So if I'm driving for 4.5 hours, the alternator charger is going to completely charge the system up. Now, that's if it was all the way at zero, which is pretty rare because 4,000 watt hours is quite a bit of capacity. But you get the idea. When the vehicle's running, when I'm driving around all day, we can easily charge up the batteries. If we're sitting somewhere for a couple days and I wasn't recovering enough power, I needed some more, we could fire up the old Demonator and burn some liquefied dinosaurs and charge up our system. But that's not ideal. Running this for 4.5 hours idle is going to burn through a ton of fuel. So that is where our good friend, the sun, comes into play. Because we're charging our solar panel on the hood, but we can draw way more power from the sun with some more solar panels. And so this is where the rooftop tent comes into play. Now, this is still in test. You'll see that this panel is not mounted at all. I'm just doing some driveway testing to see how many panels I actually need, and then I'm going to come up with a mounting solution. But this is a 100-watt solar panel from EcoFlow. This is a rigid panel, and I've just kind of got the wires kind of you know, hanging down the side. But if you look way at the front of the tent, there's a Anderson connector. So what I will be doing is getting probably 2 or 3 panels on the roof of here and running them back into that Anderson connector, and this tent is all wired up. And so once I plug things into that Anderson connector, I can then use this Anderson connector here is the output, and I can bring that along the rail here down, and then we'll route it into the cab underneath where the other wires are. And that's gonna let me have more power for charging. So that one panel right now is a 100-watt panel. It's putting out, so about, you guys can see here, it's putting out about 63 watts, 65 watts. It kind of hovers in that mid 60 range. So about 2/3 efficiency on a 100-watt panel. So what I need, my recovery amount to run my fridge, which I'll show you some of the devices here in a minute, is about 80 watts. I need to be able to pull in about 80 watts during the day to get me through the night to recover my batteries up to, well, I like to have this at 80% for efficiency. That's the best spot to charge it to unless I'm going out. But to get me back up to where I started the day before, I need to be drawing in about 80 watts or so during the day. So I think I'm gonna put another solar panel on the roof and see how that goes. Come in here so we don't get so much glare. But on top of all this, EcoFlow has a great app that shows you all your power. So how much power you have in each battery. We can just click on this, and it's going to show us how much battery each of the 2 batteries have, how much capacity it has. It shows us where all our outputs are going. So whether it's AC, or sorry, this is inputs, whether we're getting AC input. We've got the alternator charger here. We've got solar. So you can see this one solar right here. So this is where having 2 solar is nice. And then we can also control our outputs here. So we can toggle on the 12-volt barrel, the inverter, or any of the USB ports. And we can see just how much we're outputting here. This is why having 2 solar ports is really handy. Now, it's not that I need 2 solar ports to put 2 solar panels. We can series those together and run them all into one port. But what's nice is we have that second port if we get to camp and we want to deploy some of EcoFlow's foldable stand-up panels, because maybe we're spending 3 or 4 days there, so we really want to make sure we're recovering our power. I can just chuck one of the solar panels into the back, and now I can run, I don't have to disconnect what's on the roof. I can run what's on the roof, it'll be charging, and then I can just plug into that second port and it'll be charging off of the extra panels. These guys here are just foldable panels that you can take anywhere you want. They do pack quite a punch because these are dual-sided panels for maximum efficiency. This is the back. So you put these out and boom, we've got extra panels. Face this side toward the sun. So this is a whole ton of extra solar. If you want to stick around at camp for 4 or 5 days, or maybe it's not the best of weather, you've got a bit of overcast and you want to be recovering, you just add some extra solar panels and they just fold up real nice, go back in the bag. And so basically I would just feed that panel's wire in through the side here, plug that into the back of the EcoFlow. It's nice and easy to access from this side. It's easy to plug something in. You can see we got the extra XT60 connector right here. Boom, where do you go? And this is the main solar panel. We plug in just like that. Now we can also charge up off of shore power because I keep a plug permanently plugged into here and I just have it routed through here to the side of the door. So all I do is come along, plug an extension cord in here, tuck that under here, close the door. Doesn't seem to impact it unless you've got a really thick extension cord because you have a little bit of foam under here that it tucks under, just like those wires that we're testing the solar panel with right now. So with solar, I want to say the sky's the limit, no pun intended, but reality is you can get about 800 watts if you have a ton of panels and plug all those in. I mean, that's a lot of solar, to be honest. Having like 200 watts of solar is probably plenty, like actual, panels. So that's going to probably give you about 120, 150 watts of solar. That's pretty good. But once again, it's a math game. How much capacity do you have? How many hours of sun do you have? And how many watts per hour can you draw off the sun? And how much of your battery system are you using between sunrise to sunset? Because you're not going to be able to charge it when it's dark out, obviously. So if you need to recover 1,000 watt hours of your battery during the day, and you've got maybe 10 hours of sunlight, that means you need 100 watts per hour to get that 1,000 watt hours of capacity. At 10 hours, that means you need 100 watts of some sort of input. And if you're gonna be doing that with solar, you wanna get at least 100 watts. And also think about when it's gonna be not as sunny, shady days. So maybe, you know, add some buffer on top of there. If you have 200 watts of panels, should be all right, right? It's kind of rough math, but you gotta do some math. How much capacity do you have, and how many watt hours? How many hours do you have in charging? Divide the capacity by the hours. That's how many watts per hours you need to charge at. Simple as that. So we do have Prime Days, July 8th to 11th. And we also have a sponsor for this week's video. Iceco is continuing to help us make videos supporting the channel. And honestly, it's a perfect partnership because the Iceco APL35 is my favorite fridge that I've been using for the last year. It sits in the back of the Gladiator, fits perfectly right where I need it to. It's not too big. It's got this awesome, nice brushed aluminum look to it, but as well, it's got some cool features like the stay open lid, which is great because if you want to reach in and grab a drink, which I'm gonna have right now because it's super hot out, you don't have to worry about the lid slamming on your hand. But inside, you've also got a dual zone fridge. And this is using a CCOP Nano compressor, so it's super efficient, which is great for powering off a battery system when you're not at home. You want this efficient and using as little as energy as possible. We've got dual zones, so we can have a fridge and a freezer, or 2 fridge zones, or 2 freezer zones, or a fridge on this and a large freezer. But this is the Iceco APL35, and it's gonna be on sale for Prime Days as well. So you can pick one up by scanning this QR code, or check out the link in the description, along with some of the other products in this video. These are affiliate links. Once again, they pay me a small commission, no cost to you, help support making the videos on the channel.
And if you're looking for something a little bit larger, I suggest taking a look at the Iceco APL55, which is also a dual zone fridge and freezer. Just got a little bit more space. Or if you're looking for something a little bit more compact, maybe just for a quick day outing, they have the APL20, which is a 21-quart fridge and freezer. So if you're in the market for a fridge this season, go check out Iceco's website. I'm sure they'll have something that fits your exact needs.
And a huge thanks to Iceco for supporting me, making videos, and making awesome products like the APL35 in this beautiful brushed aluminum. Okay, so you've got all this power, capacity, recovery, charging, all that stuff. Why do you actually need all this? Well, really, the goal was to eliminate bringing fuel canisters and fuel and really just be fully self-sufficient off of electricity. It's 2025, guys. We don't need to be bringing, things have evolved where we don't need generators. We don't need crazy complex power systems. There's a bunch of cool devices that you can take camping with you if you have a really nice electrified setup. Now, I did do a whole video about my electrified camping setup, so I will put that up in the corner. You can go check that out. I'll also put a link down in the description. But basically the heart of it is this here, which is an induction cooktop, which plugs in and it can run at 1800 watts. This thing is absolutely like super hot. It's like cooking on gas. The benefit of not cooking on gas when you're out camping is, well, if it's windy, it's not blowing the heat off of your camp stove, which can be super annoying. It's direct contact, heats up your pot or pan, works awesome. And for durability, I've had this in the back of my Jeep for almost 2 years, even though I wasn't using it. I wanted to see if it would survive, and it's been on the Rubicon. It's been down to like Moab. It's been all over the place, and it still works perfectly fine. Put a link to the description, or put a link in the description to that one as well. But we also have a couple other things that I'm using. We've got the Nespresso machine. If you've been here a while, you'll know the Nespresso machine comes on every trip, and this is how we make our morning coffee. It's super efficient. It's super easy to use. You plug it in, hit a button, away you go. That's what I like when I'm camping. And then we've got a more recent addition. This is the Stoic Voltaics Joule, and I use this to boil water. You know, quite often I'm drinking tea, so this plugs in. Just got a standard plug right here on the back. This is the same plug that you would charge your EcoFlow with, so if you forget it, you can use one of those. And this is, you know, it's like an electric jet boil. You flip this on, turn it to drink. It can even make popcorn, but I think that'll get messy. And this will boil water for my tea in the morning. Also super easy. Just plug it in, hit the button, away you go. That's what I like. Lazy camping. Camping is when I like to go be lazy, and these help that a lot. But like I said, full breakdown of the electrified cooking systems right there. I'll put a link right there. Now, cooking is one of the main things we want to use electricity for, but not the only thing. So where should we start? Let's go back to power distribution, but we need to get power to the back of the truck, and we need power up in the rooftop tent, and we need power in the truck. So how is distribution working? How are we getting all the power around the truck? Well, guys, it is quite simple, because we just go back to the heart of our vehicle, we just go back to the heart of our power system, and we've got our EcoFlow right here. As I mentioned, lots of stuff plugs in to USB ports, and it's charging here. We've got some extra cables, because I don't have the speaker box in my Gladiator. We have some extra cables underneath here for stuff. We've got our grab and go power. So this is our, we'll call this wireless power. If we just want to go somewhere and we don't want to run a cable, we can grab the River 3. But getting power around the Jeep, you know, is sort of complicated. The idea is simple, but you have to be comfortable running wires. So we've got, you know, the alternator charger runs down the fender, along the frame rail, and then it pops up in here. We've also got a wire run coming from underneath the goose gear all the way into the bed of the truck, where we have a fuse box and distribution panel. I'll show you that in a second. The other way I distribute power around, well, depends on what I need it for. So if I'm cooking, I really didn't want to run household power through my truck. Not as safe, I think, to run to the outside of my truck along the frame rail and then into the bed of the truck. I think, you know, if something happens, now my whole vehicle could shock me, right? So what I do is I have a extension cord. And this is where the goose gear is super handy, because we have the side panel missing here. And I keep this extension cord right here, whoop, plugged in to the EcoFlow all the time, and this is routed through the goose gear. You can see how far away from the truck we can get. But I just grab this whenever I need to cook. I just grab this, pull this out, and I just put that right there on the tailgate. And now I can plug all my stuff into it. And you know, it literally took 2 seconds to put it out. I don't have 110 being distributed around my truck, because we don't want to get shocked. And then when we need to put this away, just give this a few coils and back under the seat it goes. Now we've got things like USB lights. That's where this will come into handy. If we want to plug in some USB lights, maybe in an easy up or some sort of canopy, or even underneath here, when we have the shadow awning on the other side, when we have the shadow awning out, I can just grab that portable power station and put it in the bed of the truck, where it's going to stay out of the rain, and we can plug in our USB ports into it. I also have a super long USB cable going all the way to the front, because we have high-speed USB-C charging on here, 100 watts of charging, that I can send to the front and charge my GoPros and cameras while we're driving. Then I've also got, move this out of the way, our sun blocker. We've also got more power up here. Off that 12-volt port, we have power distribution off of this guy. So we've got more 12-volt barrel connectors up front, more USB ports. I'm going to upgrade this one, I think, soon to one that has more amperage. But if, you know, a passenger needs some USB ports, they need to plug in their stuff, or I need to plug in lots of cameras, lots of charging USB stuff, I've got all of it right here. And why don't I use the vehicle? Well, the vehicle has really low amperage USB ports, I found. They charge really slow. So this gives me fast charging USB. And I've got my camera cable kind of coiled up behind my floor mat for when I need it. And then the last thing is getting power to the bed. There's a couple things in the bed that need power, like the Iceco APL35, as well as all the lights that are in the canopy, as well power up to the rooftop tent itself. Now, the biggest problem, the biggest drawback that I found pretty much with any power station is there's a limited amount of 12-volt amps that you can actually get off it. The EcoFlow, like many of them, have the barrel connector on the back, the cigarette type connector. That's limited to 8 amps, which really doesn't give you a lot of juice if you want to be running lights, as well as I have a cord for my diesel heater, which needs more than 8 amps to start up. We have a connector that goes up to the rooftop tent to power that, as well as the fridge. All this is more than 8 amps. So I don't use the barrel connector, but I'm gonna show you how I solved that. And I did that easily with this guy here, which I also need to hard mount. This is a waterproof LED power supply, and this has 300 watts of output. So at 12 volts, what is that, 25 amps? Yeah, 25 amps. So this guy is a 110 connector on one side. So this plugs into the EcoFlow into one of the 110 connectors. And on the other side, which I've got this all spliced in, but on the other side, this is just a red and black wire, and it outputs 12 volts and it outputs 300 watts or 25 amps. So I've got that connected to this wire that goes through here underneath the frame all the way to the back of the truck. And we're gonna have to move a couple things out of the way. So this isn't meant to be accessed all the time. This is sort of like when I set up and forget it, but we move the fridge over, we move our water system over, and right here we have a Blue Sea sub panel. So that wire that's coming off of that power supply that I just showed you comes all the way back to here and feeds this distribution panel. Now off of this, now we have 12 volt wherever we want it. We can just wire into separate fuses as needed. And this is rattling now because it's touching that. And we just feed it into there, and we've got separate fuses. So we've got one that's permanently set up right here for the fridge. And it just goes into the Iceco fridge and it connects in. We've got a fuse to disconnect it. Now I've got another one here. This one is for when we bring the diesel heater out. So as much as I'm trying to run everything off of electricity, when it's super, super cold, I do bring the diesel heater, and that's what we run this off of. And I just can grab this cord out of the back and it'll go about 12 feet from the truck, and I can plug my diesel heater in wherever I want. I am still trying to figure out a good solution for an electric heater, because ideally I'd like to not bring the diesel heater with me. What I need to find, and probably this is research, or you guys can tell me down in the comments below, is I need to find a portable electric heater that has a digital thermostat, so I can set a temperature like, I don't know, maybe 15 degrees Celsius. So what's that, about under 50, 47, 48 degrees, somewhere in there. Keep that turned on and let the thermostat turn it on and off throughout the night, because you can't run a electric heater all night in your tent and not completely toast your batteries. So going back to capacity, we've got 4,000 watt hours. If I had a 800 watt heater, right, we could only run that for about 4.5 hours. Now, if I had an 800 watt heater that cycled on and off, because really I don't need it cooking and running all night long, that'd be too hot. What I need is it for it to come on and then turn off for 15 minutes, let it cool down, turn on, and kind of cycle itself on and off. I think that would work a lot better. So I've been looking for the right one, but I could run a 400 watt heater all night. The diesel heater is just better. It's drier heat, it gets the moisture out, which moisture is more of a problem here than heat, because I'm in British Columbia, it's super wet all winter long. I just can't find a replacement for a diesel heater yet for those really damp, cold winter nights. But you could run a small 200 or 300 watt electric heater to take the edge off if it's not sub-freezing temperatures. That would probably be pretty good. Anyways, tangent. We've got the power plug for when we bring the diesel heater. And then the last thing that we're also running off of here is I've got this wired into my alley cab canopy. And right here, we can just flick the switch on, and we've got 3 lights. There's one under each door and one at the back, and they stay powered, and that means they're running off of the EcoFlow as well. So the last thing is power distribution up to my rooftop tent. How do we get power up there? As I showed you guys earlier, we have this guy here. We have the Anderson connector. Well, we have the Anderson connector that brings the solar through the tent and down to here, but we also have an Anderson connector to power the tent. And the main thing we're powering in there are some USB ports. So that means if I have to charge my phone or my USB heated sleeping pad that goes in my sleeping bag when it's cooler, I can run that off that. It also can power the light in the tent. So basically we just have a cable that runs off our Blue Sea system with an Anderson. When we get to camp, we just pull it up and plug it in to the tent, and now the tent is powered. I guess you could leave that in all the time, but I think AliCab recommends not doing that, but I'm not usually one following directions. So we're still working on a few things, but I think I'm coming to like the conclusion of what I want my system to look like. And as many dead dinosaurs as we burn with the Demon powered engine, we do a pretty good job at running off of renewable energy and solar and power systems, solar generators. That's like the buzzword these days. We're running off solar generators at camp or wherever else we need to be hanging out and powered for the day. So don't forget, we have the Amazon Prime Days summer sale on from the 8th to 11th of July. So if you're looking to juice up some of your power system, you can take a look at some of the EcoFlow products, as well as Iceco's running a sale as well. Highly recommend the APL 35 fridge. It's a great compact, lighter weight fridge. It's efficient. It's great for throwing all your food and drinks in, but as well, we've got the heart of the power system, the EcoFlow Delta 2 Max, the alternator charger, the expansion battery, the River 3. You can check some of those out as well and maybe save a few bucks if you've got a few ideas from me from watching this video, which is why we make these videos, show you guys what I've done, give you guys ideas to solve your problems. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Leave them down in the comments below. I'm checking them all the time. Guys, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers. We're super close. If you enjoyed this video and want to watch some other videos, hit the subscribe button, help me with 100K. My name's Casey. I'll catch you guys in the next video.